Thank you for staying with us. The news begins with gunmen on Saturday ambushing a Toyota Sienna passenger vehicle on Obo Ayegunle Osi Road in the Ekiti local government area of Kwara State, abducting 7 passengers traveling from Abuja to Ofa in Kwara State. Now, VOP News gathered that the suspected kidnappers, however, spared 3 children who were traveling with their abducted parents. Also, the eldest of the children who were spared, who also reported the incident to the management of the transport company Olumo Express Offer, and that the victims boarded. The abduction occurred between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. All attempts made so far by the local vigilante to rescue the victims were unsuccessful. The State Police Command, in a statement issued on Sunday and signed by its spokesperson, Toun Ejire Adeyemi, confirmed the abduction of the 7 passengers. The Secretary of the Transport Company, Mr. Mukaila Ogunlade, who also confirmed the incident, said the incident truly happened. In fact, they were just coming from Osi Palace Station. The bus left the park with 5 passengers, but the oldest of the children that were left behind disclosed that 2 more persons later joined them on the way. Presently, they're looking for 7 people. Spokesperson for the State Police Command, SP Adeotun Adeyemi, confirmed this development. The command said it has intensified efforts through discreet investigation, intelligence gathering, and sustained bush coming to track down the perpetrators and secure the safe rescue of the remaining victims. The Commissioner of Police, Adekimi Ojo, reiterated the commitment of the command to the safety and protection of all residents, urging those with useful information to report through the established channels of the State Police Command. Now, in a very recent development as well, Emir of Yashikira Umoru Seriki Barutan local government area of Kwara State is distressed that concerned authorities have abandoned communities under attacks by a terror group named Mahmuda, allegedly occupying some parts of the Kwara North Senatorial District and Niger States. Reacting to this development via a monitored television program on Sunday, Seriki lamented that the situation is that they're totally demoralized, as people are not happy with the authorities, saying there's no presence of terrorists in their domains. He disclosed that they are abandoned by the government and left on their own, but as the situation is, they have no choice but to continue to defend themselves. The attacks, according to the traditional ruler, are not only in Baruten and Kayama local government area of Kwara State, but also Burugu Kingdom in Niger State. Seriki, while confirming last week's attacks by the terrorists, disclosed that the security vehicle bought by the people for operations by the vigilantes was bombed by the terrorists. He also disclosed that the Kwara State Police Command last week, if you remember, refuted the alleged emergence of a terror group named Mahmuda within Kayama and Barutan local government area of the state. The command also categorically dismissed the claim that 15 vigilantes have been killed by the terror group, describing it as false and devoid of any factual basis. A statement by the spokesperson of the command, SP Adetun Ejire Adeyemi in Ilorin, on Saturday said comprehensive and continuous threat assessments, intelligence surveillance, and tactical reconnaissance operations in the said areas have yielded no evidence of insurgent activity, coordinated terrorist formations, or mass casualty incidents as described. The police command therefore assured the public that all security formations within Kwara State remain proactive and are strategically deployed under a multi-agency operational framework involving the Nigerian Police Force in collaboration with their other sister security agencies. Moving on to Rivers State, the Nigerian legislative lawyers under the aegis of the Association of Legislative Drafting and Advocacy Practitioners have asked the Community of Courts of Justice of the Economic Community in West African States, ECOWAS, to impose sanctions on President Bola Tinubu over the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. The lawyers are also seeking imposition of sanctions on the leadership of the National Assembly over their role in the ratification of the emergency rule in the oil-rich state. Now, you know that Tinubu, in a nationwide broadcast on the 18th of March 2025, declared a state of emergency in Rivers State. Justifying the decision, the president said he was greatly disturbed about the political crisis in the state, accused Governor Sim Fubara of demolishing the State House of Assembly building. About a month after taking the decision, the president is still under fire from several quarters, with many Nigerians questioning the legality and propriety of the decision. Tinubu had also disclosed that 7 days will be given for provisions of the state of emergency proclamation in Rivers State, which empowered the sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Eta Ibas, to appoint sole administrators for local government. The lawyers threatened to take legal action against the president if he failed to heal the demand. The lawyers who had demanded the reversal of the emergency rule declaration are now asking the ECOWAS court to impose sanctions on Tinubu and other relevant Nigerian officials over the suspension of democratic governance in Rivers State. Now, a report has indicated that an automatic ticket might be handed to President Bola Tinubu to represent the All Progressives Congress in the 2027 elections. Several anonymous sources have emphasized that based on the power of incumbency, the president would be given the first right of refusal to seek re-election for a second term. This development follows counteractions from opposition parties which have been rallying against Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid. A coalition led by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and ex-secretary of the government to the Federation, Babachir Lawal, is actively working to challenge Tinubu's candidacy. The APC National Vice Chairman for the Southeast, Ijoma Arodiobo, stated that granting the president an automatic ticket would not be unusual. She, however, made it very, very clear that in this circumstance, the National Organizing Secretary expressed similar views, emphasizing that the ruling party would not prevent other aspirants from contesting against the endorsement. Now, in this recent development, the leadership of the Obidient movement led by Alhaji Ahmed Abdul Fathi the weekend decided to collapse its national, zonal, state, local government and ward political structures into the nationwide Tinubu Connect Associates. This major realignment came after a high-level deliberation held in Lagos between the Obidient movement and Henry Nwabweze, the national leader of NTCA. All 36 state coordinators of the Obidient movement endorsed the measure, signaling their full integration into the NTCA structure to support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's re-election campaign in 2027. According to a statement released by Ahmed Abdul Fathi, the movement views this collaboration as a step towards strengthening national unity and pushing forward the Tinubu administration's developmental goals. The group stated its intention to back the president's second-term agenda by channeling its resources and personnel through the NTCA. Represented by the 36 state coordinators of the Obidient movement, they all agreed to merge their structures at the various levels into NTCA to support President Bola Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid. However, in the spirit of fairness, they urged Mr. Peter Obi and other intending contestants for the 2027 presidential election to jettison their ambitions for the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They disclosed that they cannot afford to distort and discontinue these laudable structures of development courageously built by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, like removal of subsidy, local government autonomy, tax reforms, revival of refineries, student loans, establishment of Ministry of Livestock to regulate the rearing of cattle, establishment of regional development commissions, electricity reforms, increased GDP and foreign reserves, establishment of over 8,800 new primary healthcare centers across the country, upgrading of existing tertiary institutions. They say it is simple, go and verify, as Mr. Peter Obi would fondly say. They are calling on the support for the president's administration. Despite these initial challenges being faced, no pain, no gain. Continuity is the intention and sincere conviction. In the show of solidarity, the movement has pledged to mobilize all youth and women leaders across the nation into the NTCA framework, which it now recognizes as a stronger and more inclusive platform to achieve the Nigerian hope. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we're heading to a news analysis segment. I actually have right here in the studio Mr. Peter Anosike, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator. Do kindly stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Mr. Anosike, good evening and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I actually hope I do have your correct microphone on, I hope. All right, Mr. Peter Anosike, happy Easter to you.
Same to you and same to our listeners.
It's been a very, very long time, Mr. Anosike. So I'm surprised to hear about this information about the collapse of the Obidient movement nationwide, specifically the leadership of the movement led by Alhaji Ahmad Abdul Fathi, the weekend deciding to collapse its national, zonal, state, local government and ward political structures into the nationwide Tinubu Connect Associates. Would we say that while the president has been abroad, from France to London for the past 2 weeks, he has been working, his agents, his loyalists have been infiltrating all the what you call the opposition political movement, and now the Obedient movement, which is a basic support base of Peter Obi, even if the Labour Party is having its issues, we're hearing that a faction of them are collapsing to merge with the APC to support the president. How would you react to this?
Well, for me, it is disappointing that we are going to use that word obedient movement.
Okay.
Because when you mention that name, it sounds strange to me.
Obedient movement sounds strange to
The
you.
name that you mentioned as national, understand me? It sounded if you had said thank you, understand me? Yunusa.
Okay.
I will have because for me it didn't sound true in my mind. I know that this is just fringe people now trying to see what they can get from the president or from the presidency. These are the stomach infrastructure politicians looking for now. The resources is with the APC. So everybody want to go where the money is. But I strongly feel that the Obedient movement, the true disciples of P2B, are still with him.
Well, you know that before now, we've seen heavy campaigning of Peter Obi. We've seen how the Labour Party has turned out, although he has remained and said absolutely he's staying with the Labour Party. But there are 3 factions in the Labour Party. You have the Julius Abure faction, you have the Arabambi and Lamida Papa faction, and then you have the Nanadu Usman faction. So we do know that despite all of this, the Obedient movement do not mind. They are just waiting for their principal to tell them what to do. Wherever he heads is where they go. And Peter Obi has been going about his philanthropic activities with the Obedient movement as its cap. So don't you consider this as, would I call it frightening? And the fact that maybe there is a possibility that it's just permutations. Possibly Peter Obi is really not interested in going ahead to possibly campaign in 2027 if we're hearing information coming out like this.
Well, I keep on saying Peter Obi is an adult. He is a rational human being. He knows what is good for him.
All right.
He knows what is good for him. And one of the rules of political parties is you don't allow your opponent to look good. Because the more bad your opponent looks, the better for your campaign.
All right.
So those who are the marketing people are doing what they're supposed to do because it is politics. Politics is a murky water that leaves you with stain and strains.
Interesting.
So you cannot swim in politics water and still look good and fresh. Understand me? So that's the game. They are doing what they are supposed to do. No true obedience should be concerned about this shoe shiners looking for what to eat. Understand me? I believe that the obedience are still strong.
All right, but would you say that their faith will hang on with the recent bullying and a lot of statements being made about the person of Peter Obi? Persons are asking what are his works. In fact, if I play you what Omoyele Sowore said in a very recent podcast, you would wonder what Peter Obi particularly did to him. He called him several names. He said he's a packaged fraud and all what not, and said possibly his disposition of humility is not exactly what it is. He calls it a false persona, and you would wonder what exactly is the personal issue. Rano Mokri would tell you that this is basically the reason why he would ensure that he will continue to mod Peter Obi. In Omoyele Sowore's case, I really cannot understand what his personal reason is against him.
Omoyele Sowore is bitter about P2B because P2B is currently in control of the youths. So Sowore being a student a student SUGM leader, an activist, feel that the youth ought to be with him.
Okay.
But the youth have decided to go with P2B.
Okay.
So Shawara is not happy about it. Shawara is not happy. So he feel that P2B deprive him what he should get. That's the beef that he has against P2B, because P2B is not the only presidential candidate.
Exactly.
Kwankwaso is there.
Exactly.
He has never mentioned Kwankwaso.
Exactly.
He has never mentioned Kwankwaso.
In all his criticism about the government.
His beef is simply because P2B took the youth away from him because of his messaging, because of his lifestyle. So he's just angry at P2B. That's the main reason.
Wow. A couple of persons will think that this is just one of the warming up campaigns to see where possibly he can join the fray of the current the APC supporters, in clicking a mod on him, because the tornado effect of 2023 still astounds a lot of Nigerians who were part of the movement in 2023. Now let's move on to insecurity, because it's quite ironical and at the same time depressing that with a spate of insecurity in the country, that we have talks basically relying on 2027. We still have 2025 and 2026, but a couple of political stalwarts have made reference to the fact that the spate of insecurity recently is politically motivated. The idea is to destabilize this administration to possibly make sure that the president doesn't come up in 2027. But the APC members are saying that whatever it is anybody's pulling is not going to work, as it stands now that the president is the one in charge of all the political parties in this country. So if the president is supposedly the one in charge of all the political parties in this country with just different names, then why are we having certain persons, according to the supporters of this administration, politically creating issues or chaos in the polity for selfish or political reasons?
Well, if Bola Tinubu is in charge of all the political parties, he's not in charge of all Nigerians.
Okay.
It is not the political parties that vote. It is Nigerians. How many people are registered under these political parties?
Okay.
That's the question. I'm not sure if up to 10 million people are card-carrying members of political parties in Nigeria, while we have a population of over 200 million. So being in charge of the political parties does not give you victory, because it is the people that vote. And election is a referendum. Election is an appraisal of one's stewardship. And when we appraised Tinubu in his last 2 years, he had not scored up to 25%.
Okay.
Forget all the audio promises or audio fulfillment that you are hearing. The number one responsibility of every government is protection of life and property. Tinubu had no answer to that. On economy, Tinubu had no answer to that. And these are the fundamentals that decide who wins an election. So if the Nigerian masses are saying, go and vote today, Tinubu will fail woefully. So saying that he's in control of all the political parties does not mean anything. Tinubu is not in charge of Nigerians, and it is Nigerians that will vote on that day. So for me, Tinubu 2 years in office is a colossal failure. There's no way you can rub lipstick on a pig to make it look good. A pig will always be a pig. So no matter what they tell you, I was listening to what you read out by the so-called leader of
the Obidient
movement. None of those things are real.
Really? The refurbishing or re-establishment of the refineries, he called it the revival of refineries, the student loans, the establishment of Ministry of Livestock to regulate the cattle revenue,
and herdsmen are still
attacking, tax reforms, local government autonomy.
Is it functioning? Is local government autonomy still functioning? It cannot function because that's part of the constitution that said that money due to the local government should be paid into a joint account between the state and local government has not been expunged from the constitution. So the local government autonomy is not working and will not work until that section of the Constitution is expunged. Understand me? So the tax reform, to whose benefits? Nigeria's purchasing power is being diminished on a daily basis by the taxes that they are paying. What is the quality of life of Nigerians? This is what will determine a sensible man going out to cast his vote. Is my life better today than 4 years ago? So when you do a referendum on Tinubu's 2 years in office, you will not vote for him, or there's something is wrong upstairs.
Well, with what is going on right now, a couple of persons are already mocking and saying that, just like you actually said, that they will say this is a faceless group. This group of persons are not really obedient. So a couple of persons say they know them, that they vigorously actually supported Peter Obi in Lagos specifically. And if it now happens to be that this movement are saying, go and verify, they're testifying to the works of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, meaning that maybe they have fallen off the face of whatever it is that Peter Obi is actually representing. So if this group of persons, according to you, are all about their own personal and selfish interests. Exactly. So how do you see things going from now on? And a couple of Obedients, you may not be surprised, may be in between with the situation in the Labour Party and this supposed story now about this movement, which will be discouraging for a lot of those who have been waiting to know what Peter Obi wants to do. If he's going to be part of a measure, if he's going to be part of a coalition, if he's remaining in the Labour Party, they're waiting for him to give a move. And if he hasn't said anything now, don't you think it's going to be discouraging?
I am very, very sure that within the next 24 hours, the real Obidient will speak.
Okay.
And they will deny this splinter of fringe group.
Okay.
So for me, I'm not bothered at all.
All right. Now, in this particular situation about insecurity, for example, you heard what happened very recently where some persons were abducted in Kwara State. Now, the emir there has called on the Nigerian police that this thing is serious and these people have to start defending themselves. They recall that when they reported a similar incident, the police had said nothing like that is going on, that there is no insurgency in the state or for this recent kidnapping or abduction to take place. Why do we have a situation where an occurrence occurs, and instead of them to quickly acknowledge it, they first of all deny before there is now evidence to prove that, oh, the initial statement was true? Why do we have that with this administration? Deny first and then later corroborate.
Well, that is the way they were trained. Understand? They don't have any intelligence. They don't have any intelligence, and they don't want to look good. They don't want to look bad before their paymasters.
Okay.
So they should don't deny anything negative that come, push it to the opposition.
Okay.
It is the opposition that are fomenting this falsehood.
Okay.
Understand?
All right.
But Kwara is an APC state. There's no way an emir will come out and say what is not right. We heard of this Mahmouda when they killed that they're now operating around the Kainji.
Yes, Kainama.
But yes. Between Niger and Kwara State, which is a vast area. So and even more terror groups will still come out because as election nears, tension heightens.
That's what I'm asking you. Do you think this spate of resurgence of insecurity is politically motivated?
Anywhere that a nation is coming near, there's always tension.
I know, but the question is, do you think it's politically motivated? Because that's what a couple of the APC political stalwarts are alleging, that this insecurity right now is politically motivated.
Then what are they doing about it?
I wish we had time. I would have played you an audio of when a question was asked to the president during the campaign in Chatham House. I remember at the time, El-Rufai was part of his campaign team. You remember when they asked President Tinubu about the state of insecurity in the country, because that was one of the major reasons that, they were talking about the former administration, that the former administration promised to tackle insecurity, but he did nothing about it. It actually got worse. And so what was he going to do about it? And Tinubu said, categorically, I'm going to quote him, he says that he is all about teamship. That is TEAMSHIP, teamship. So he was able to allocate different responses to different people. El-Rufai responded. I think one or two more persons responded on his behalf. El-Rufai responded on insecurity and what they were going to do. In the past 2 years, we've not had any form, however, of any of the things that were stated in Chatham House. So would we say that when these promises are made, they're just made to the ears at the time?
They want to deceive the world. They want to deceive the world, and Tinubu knew the reason why he told El-Rufai that to answer that question.
Okay.
Because in 2013-14, some people imported jihadists into this country to start war if Jonathan failed to accept the defeat.
Okay.
And we were told that they were stationed in Kaduna. Some of them even confirmed it, that they imported jihadists from the Sahel region. So he has his reason for telling El-Rufai to answer it. And now El-Rufai is no more part of that government. Maybe the magic that El-Rufai had, he kept it to himself. Sure.
All right, Mr. Peter Anoski, let's move on to Rivers. Were you surprised when you heard the Easter message from Governor Sim Fubara, telling his people to trust and believe in the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Would you say his response emerged from what Nyesom Wike said in his media chat, where he said for him, he wanted Fubara gone? So in other words, whatever it was that was being said initially, that the president actually saved Sim Fubara, and then he came and reeled out his Easter message and actually, giving credence to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda and commitment. How do you describe this? Do you think Fubara may be one of the governors, PDP governors, defecting officially to the APC?
Well, for me, Fubara is as confused as Wike.
Right now, he's confused. I thought that a lot of persons were supporting him at the time. How come now he seems confused?
No. For me, I have sympathy for him because currently, he is the governor of the state. No matter the way he came in.
Okay.
I know he was one of those that played the bad card in February 25. 2023.
Okay.
But he was declared governor and the commander-in-chief in his own state. So I strongly feel that Wike should focus on his job in Abuja, while this guy will preside over in River State.
Okay.
So he and Wike has been that's in the same boat. So for me, he is as confused as Wike. But the issue is this: he should also understand his game.
All right.
The PDP governors that especially in the southeast that want to decamp are being fooled the way Umahi was fooled.
All right.
Because Umahi was a promised vice presidential candidate, to understand, was a promised president, understand me? That is why he decamped to APC. So the PDP governors in the southeast now that want to decamp, we are told that we are told by northern politicians, you can be my vice presidential candidate in 2031. That's the game. So Fubara should know why he wants to decamp.
All right. Are you surprised that you're having opposition political party members, top governors of the opposition political party like the PDP, aligning with the current government? I mean, it's a couple of persons will say, wow, the effect of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, something that has never occurred, whatever strategy or whatever it is Nigerians want to describe him. You can imagine for the first time in Nigeria's historical texture or historical platform in our political environment, you're saying opposition already aligning with the president, lauding the efforts of the president, wanting to work with the president. And then he now tells you, if we have opposition vying support for the current government or for the current administration. What is now the essence of having an opposition if the current administration is powerful enough to liquidate the stronghold, the foundation, or the effect of any opposition? What exactly then are we saying? Are we not supposed to say we just have a one-party system?
I keep on saying 24 hours is a long time in politics.
Okay.
I listened to what Pastor Enno of Akwa Ibom said
yes.
That he will support Tinubu's 2027 that's agenda.
Yeah.
Why he is that's a PDP
member.
I also read what the APC in Enugu said that they will stop Peter Mba from defecting to APC.
No, they will stop. You heard what the PDP member in Enugu State said. You mentioned APC instead of PDP.
No, APC in Enugu.
They're saying they will stop Peter Mba from defecting?
From joining APC.
Why?
No, that they will stop him from joining APC, that he should remain in PDP.
Okay.
That's what APC in Enugu is saying.
He's saying.
That's what they also said in Delta State, that the
governor that is true.
Want to join
the yes.
So then they said that they will not allow him to join APC. Understand me? So that he should remain that's in PDP. For me, all these are games. Understand me?
Yeah, games.
All these are games. 24 hours is still a long time. Understand, in politics. The coalition that Nigeria needs, we need is a coalition of Nigerian masses.
All right, but then the Nigerian masses will need a platform. They will need somewhere. No, it's just like what happened.
Esther, you can go and vote without being a member of any political party. Sure. So that's what we need.
Interesting. For in a situation where we're experiencing, for example, the NBS released a report lately on its new data survey quota where they made mention of inflation. We now have inflation in the country. If the president says his economic reforms are working, if the president says that our debt profile has reduced, it's no longer as huge as it was because we've been able to pay back some significant amount of money to the International Monetary Fund, why is the IMF telling the president to do something about his economic policies? Because it's actually causing starvation at the core. But if this administration believes that they're on the right track and that the pains Nigerians are experiencing now is due, it's necessary, then what will happen between now and next year? And what are the rules that the president will put out there to say this is what he's been able to achieve in the past couple of years, possibly the first 3 years?
In 2016, Femi Adesina as the SA media to Buhari said, and I quote, the pains Nigerians are going through, that's 2016, 9 years ago. The pains that Nigerians are going through now is like taking a drug. Okay. Though it will be bitter in the mouth, but it will later heal the body.
All right.
That was 2016 APC. So this is 9 years later. We are still being told that the pain that we are suffering is necessary. So when will it end? So for me, the politicians are the enemies of the people. I have said it, Q1, Q2, first quarter, second quarter does not mean anything on the life of the masses. What Nigerian masses need is a stable and affordable electricity, affordable transport, lower cost of living. Understand me? Lower cost of living. Anything that you pay debt or you not pay debt is in your pocket. It doesn't concern anybody. We know how government is functioning by going to the streets, by going to the market. What is the quality of life of average Nigerian? Any other thing is audio.
Interesting.
Any other thing is audio. IMF has told this presidency that their economic policies are not working. And the Nigerian bosses can attest to that it is not working. Because most Nigerians are still going to bed without food. Understand me? The quality of life of Nigerians is not getting better.
Reduced.
Understand me? Reduced. So what would they promise? What can they say that they have done in the last 2 years? The answer is zero. They have no answer to economy. They have no answer to security.
In all of this, why is Vice President Kashim Shettima quiet? The last time I heard he said something was when he was inaugurating the president's LIP initiative, where he talked about beyond skill acquisition, a vocational skill center that will be created for those who want to work, and how they'll be able to utilize whatever it is they're able to learn from that vocational skill center. Also having monetary support to anyone who wants to venture into any of the field through which they were able to learn in that particular vocational center. That's the last time I heard about Kashim Shettima. The next thing I heard is the fact that there are possibilities that the president possibly wants to sack him, or he will not run with the same ticket with the president in 2027. So why is the vice president quiet?
If you know Tinubu's antecedents, as a governor for 8 years, he had more than 4 deputies. He had more than 4 deputies. He had not changed. So now I'm not seeing him running in 2027 with Boname Tinubu.
Are you sure?
I say I'm not seeing him because going by Tinubu's antecedents. Understand? As a governor for 8 years, he had more than 4 deputy governors. He was changing them as people changed their underwears. He hasn't changed. Even the national information I got was that the military were stopping him from accessing Aso Rock, which he denied. But even Sheikh Tinubu is even acting as the VP. And mind you, as we speak, we were not told that Tinubu transmitted power to him. Understand me?
Yes, yes.
So for you that to know what is going on there, so he might be thinking of his next option.
All right. And what about if the Northerners are not happy with that? What if they decline and say you can't do that? Because we're already hearing the North Central telling the president to ensure that they're included. Otherwise, we saw the intelligence advisor, that is Baba Buba something Ahmed, the one who resigned from his position, saying that the North will soon announce how 2027 is going to be if things do not change, and that they're not going to vote anymore on religion. They're not going to look at tribe or ethnicity, that they're going to look at competency. Although a couple of Nigerians don't believe that statement anyway.
Well,
so but how do you see this going to affect some sections of the North ahead of 2027?
Shettima is from Kanuri.
Okay.
And Kanuri is a minority tribe.
Are Kanuri Nigerians? Some people feel that they're in between.
For me, it's in Borno State.
Okay.
Kanuri is in Borno State. He is from Kanuri, which is a minority.
Okay.
The Funanis are ruling the North as we speak, even though the Funanis are still the minority tribe. An instance, in Kanu, 85% of Kanu indigenes are Hausas, but the Funanis are ruling them. So it is in the other states. So they can easily dispense with him.
Okay. All right, Mr. Peter Anosike, thank you so much for taking your time and giving us your perspective to the issues discussed here on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Now, on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, a Tunisian court has issued sentences in the so-called conspiracy case against 40 opposition activists under the country's counter-terrorism laws and criminal code. The individuals who were charged with conspiracy against the internal and external security of the state and the formation and participation in a terrorist group received sentences ranging from 13 to 66 years. The official state media outlet Tunis Afrique was informed by the Attorney General that some of the defendants were in custody while others remained on the run. From February 11, 2023, Tunisian authorities made numerous arrests, including the political activist Mohamed Kayan, Al-Turki businessman Kamal bin Youssef, former leader of the Democratic Party and Nada movement, Abdelhamid Jelassi, CEO and director of Tunisia's opposition broadcaster Mosaic FM, Noureddin Boutar, leaders of the Citizens Against the Coup initiative, and Tunisian diplomat Kayem Turki. Tunisian President Kais Saied met with Tunisian Justice Minister Leila Joval a day before, stating that it is unacceptable for someone to remain outside the circle of accountability when there is a file that screams their guilt even before the courts issue a verdict. The evidence, they say, is clear. It is not just circumstantial. Now, according to leaked documents, Ben Youssef was accused in subsequent witness hearings of planning a coup against the regime and the removal of the Tunisian president based on meetings and communication with foreign diplomats. To wrap up the world news at 6, here again are the top stories. You heard that gunmen kidnapped 7 passengers in Kwara. Also, new terrorist group Mahmouda occupying parts of Kwara State, Niger State, Emir cries out. In a very recent development, lawyers asked ECOWAS court to sanction President Tinubu and National Assembly. In a very recent development, however, APC considers automatic ticket for Tinubu in 2027 presidential election. Shore alleges that Kenneth Okonkwo works for President Tinubu. An Obidient movement backs Tinubu collapses structure nationwide. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachiko. Just stay with us for the evening rush at 7 o'clock. Good evening and happy Easter once again to you.